Hello everybody, it's of course Nick Dutch back on the camera again one more time. Hi there, how the heck's it going? I just want to very quickly say happy Thanksgiving to anyone who's celebrating that on the 22nd of this month. It's rather weird when you go online and you try and find out something about Thanksgiving, because I thought that it was to do with a time when the native Indians gave a gift of corn to the new settlers, the Pilgrims namely. But on the other hand, I go to another website which says that no, it's just about remembering the Pilgrims themselves and the original settlers. So I think there's a bit of strange politics and strange history associated with the Thanksgiving festival, the way that it's actually written about and talked about. As you can hear, the cat is driving me completely and utterly up the wall. Here he is. Last night I actually had to shout at him to stop him from trying to wake me up. This creature's developed the habit of trying to get attention through not only jumping on the bed, but crawling up to my head and thunking his body repeatedly against my face, as if pretending to get comfortable, when of course he's not pretending to get comfortable. He's merely trying to tell me that he wants me to get up and sit with him whilst he eats, because he refuses, and I mean refuses, to eat alone. Which is, of course, dull, but actually he doesn't refuse to. If I'm out of the house for a period of 12 hours, he will eat by himself, but that's only under the conditions that I'm, of course, going to be out of the house for an extended period of time. Anyway, on to the subject of the day. Now, I was asked to talk about the subject of elemental demons and what I could actually say about them in terms of their nature, what they're about, and so on and so forth. It's just like with everything else, okay? There's lots of questions about this. If you were to go to any form of ancient spellbook or grimoire or any particular form of other systems magic, now we use the word systems magic a lot within occult circles. Basically what we mean by that is a form of religion, really. Okay, a form of dogmatic religion which has been written down by some person who then encourages other people to think it, and thanks to like the herd mentality, it's then adopted as being the truth. You know, a form of groupthink is generated, which people find it very hard to move out of. So again, it's more a question of more questions than there are answers. And also, which particular form of theology you're talking about. Now, some schools of thought would have you believe that for each and every single concept, there's like a combination of good spiritual energies and bad spiritual energies, for want of a better phrase. The more angelic as opposed to the more quilopothic, for instance. And that's just as true and key with the four elements themselves. So, what I would suggest you do is actually to write down on a piece of paper what is good about a particular force and what could be bad about it. Now, I tried to do this many years ago when I was in, or attempting to get into, one of my first Wiccan groups, and I was told about the ritual of the circle casting, and I automatically sort of like started trying to analyze in greater detail what the elemental concepts could mean. So the positives of the elemental of air, obviously, you know, you breathe it for a start off, it gives you life. But what else does air do? Well, it can get windy. Not only can it get windy, there can also be structural damage as a result of it. There are tornadoes and hurricanes. There's, you know, really, really nasty wind conditions. Wind can be a bad thing. It can be a barrier. The sound barrier is essentially just a barrier of air. You've got blast patterns that occur when you blow something up. That's basically a wall of compressed air which can damage things. Compressed air itself can be a powerful force. So what I was doing was basically writing down a kind of like a quilopothic conceptualization of negatives associated with the various elements. And I did the same with water, because on one side of things, it nourishes plants. You need it to drink. You can wash with it. It's essential for hygiene. It's essential for life and all that wonderful stuff. And you know, the fruit trees need it. The grasses of the field need it, and all the rest of that. But what else does water do? Well, it's a natural force which claims most lives out of all of the natural forces through flood damage and flash floods, through tidal surges, through tsunamis, and all the rest of that kind of jazz. So I was writing that stuff down. Now, essentially, if you actually want to have an experience associated with a negative concept, which is to do with a particular force, you need to build up a personality or a character associated with that. Now, yes, this is predominantly fantasy world, okay, because you're using your imagination to try and create a character which has the attributes of, let's say, a tsunami, a flash flood, and that sort of thing, you know. You build it up in your mind's eye, make it anthropomorphized, so it looks like a human or humanoid type character, and then design yourself some kind of ceremony or ritual to be able to invoke that or create it or to make it somehow appear to you. So maybe you would already have an idea of what kind of circle casting or temple you would want to do. Make sure there are physical representations which are good sensory cues for yourself, because they would help you to concentrate upon the actual concept itself. I mean, just from the top of my head, maybe a tsunami spirit could be something which is semi-translucent, probably bluish, slightly bobbly, a bit like the tentacle arm from the film Abyss, which I thought was a great film. You know, that kind of thing, a creature created out of that kind of fluidic movement held in place by surface tension. Maybe it's got a grimacing, threatening facial expression. Maybe it's overly physically developed. Maybe it carries an extra weapon like a club made out of water itself. Okay. Then also think about like the smell that would accompany it. Maybe it would be a smell of seaweed and salts. And try and think of which perfumes and incenses you might want to use to go along with that sort of thing. Also, colour is an important factor, so bluey grey maybe, grey for a stormy sky and blue for the ocean, or bluish green maybe. But we associate green much more with nature and the land, so maybe a bluish grey colour would be better. And then think about in your imagination, you know, develop a folk mythology of the tsunami demon. Okay, you know, even write a story about it so you can focus on it. Try and dream about it, meditate about it, visualize what it would look like, and build a relationship in your heart with what that character would look like, what emotions it would have. Would it be nice? Would it be nasty? Would it be violent, for instance? And, you know, maybe have this creature being proud of the quantity of destruction that it's done. Then, of course, you want to go on to the process of litany, you know, the actual script for your ceremony itself. What, you know, who would you be talking to? What higher power could control it? And so on and so forth. Build up your ritual to a crescendo in which you are embracing the concept of this tsunami spirit. And obviously making sure you constrain it. Maybe you want to use the traditional triangle to do that, and see how you go. Okay. Maybe you'd want to use blue and grey candles for this particular ritual. It could be most interesting. I mean, the kind of experiences which are associated with this type of ritual could include a drop in air temperature, or an apparent drop in air temperature, a feeling of a cold draft, possibly even a feeling of something cold rising up your body, almost as if you're drowning. You know, the experience can be rather intense. If you wanted to combine that with dark mirror scrying, you would then possibly even have the ability to see an impression of what this spirit being could possibly look like when seen face to face. So there's lots of interesting ways in which you could do this. But the question I would ask would be, why in particular would you have an interest in any form of elemental demon? You know, what is it that you're trying to achieve, and why? Because what I've just described there is essentially the religious ritual associated with summoning something. Okay, so are you trying to create a religion? Are you trying to be a part of a religion? Are you trying to engage with something in a religious way? What precisely are you trying to achieve here? And what particular assumed benefits do you think this would have? And of course, what would happen if you didn't get the assumed benefits which your particular invocation is supposed to have? These are things you've got to ask yourself prior to, you know, wanting to muck around with this stuff. Okay? You've got to ask yourself, how would you feel if you were successful? How would you feel if you failed? And what markers of success would you have if you're experimenting along these lines? And also, what effects do you think it should have upon your own mind? because there's always benefits to these things, but there's often worse things as well, including suddenly developing a fear of water, for instance, or just getting very angry or wanting to do someone some damage, or having strange experiences in the dead of the night when you sense a presence which you don't necessarily want to have there. All these things can happen, and it's more a question of working out whether you want that to occur in your own dream world, in your own life. Anyway, I've wrapped it on enough for the moment. I hope that's given you some food for thoughts, and wish me luck when dealing with my naughty pussy.